Am I wrong for not letting my dad's wife name or see my baby? I'm 25 and pregnant. My dad got remarried when I was 17. Me and her never got along. She always pushed me and she wanted me to call her mom and then got mad when I didn't. She got mad that my dad was choosing me over her because we would go out together, just me and him. She went through my text messages, got mad at me for talking to my boyfriend about my depression and how I was feeling and not to her. She tried to take the stuff that I paid for away, my phone, car, etc. Tried to make me babysit her kids multiple times, even on my prom night. She tried to make me lose weight by fasting for a week straight. I'm a healthy weight, always was and still am, but that has always been monitored by a doctor due to health issues then and now. Me and my dad still talk, just not as much. He wanted to meet for brunch, so I said yes, unaware that he was bringing her. When they came in, we talked for a bit casually with my husband there too, until we got into the topic of my pregnancy. She asked me all kinds of questions until she gets to names. She told me that I was going to name the baby Amy, her daughter's name. I politely said no and said we already had a few names in mind. She started saying why she wasn't allowed to name her grandchild and she thought that she would get that right, and I told her it's our right. That was another issue. She kept saying that I was taking away her right as a grandparent and that I've always been such a bitch to her for no reason, and she knew that I never accepted her as a mother from the beginning, but I'm a bad parent if I'm going to project that onto my kid. However, this is when I stopped everything and told her she's not allowed around my kid ever. She kept pushing it, saying that she always knew I was a brat, but to be this bitter to someone who only helped her is absurd. I said that she can think that all she wants, but I'm going to be naming our child whatever we decide, and that name won't be it. Then she decided to try to hit close to home, saying that I was going to be a horrible mother. I'm already not taking care of myself. I look like shit. I'm already eating too much and probably killing the baby with how much I eat. And I just keep adding to how much of a self-centered person I am by taking away her bonding with her grandchild. Whoa, that hit me hard. But I was through. I told her she's not going to be seeing my child ever when she's born, since she wanted to push her luck. Before I could say more, my husband grabbed our stuff and we left. I've never ever gotten so many messages from so many different people in my life. Multiple people are telling me that she was wrong, but I know how she can get, but I shouldn't deny her her grandbaby. Others are saying I'm an asshole and my father is on her side too. I honestly think I'm 100% in the right. It could be self-absorbed of me to say, but I do. But everyone else besides my husband thinks I'm a raging bitch. So, am I the asshole? I do understand people's obsession with naming other people's kids. If you want to name someone's kid, have your own. You can give an opinion like, hey, what do you think of this name? But you can't be pissed off when someone doesn't decide to pick your basic ass name like Amy. Sorry to all the Amy's out there. Don't take offense. But you're not her mom. You're no one to her. She's shown this insignificance you've played in her life. Why would you ever think you had a say in what her child would be named?
I, 27 male, found risque photos of my wife, 26 female, on my friend's 27 male phone. First of all, we've been married for almost 3 years now, and this friend of mine is also a mutual friend. We've known each other since college for many years, but I consider him to be pretty close to my wife and I. Basically, a few days ago we were hanging out. Friend, myself, and a few other friends, and I incidentally saw his gallery on his phone while I was using it. I was changing songs on Spotify on his phone and incidentally saw his other apps running while switching apps. Immediately there was like at least 10 to 20 pics in his gallery of what seems to be risque selfies of my wife in lingerie. No full nudes, and they looked like they were taken in our bathroom. I, of course, have no knowledge of these kind of pictures, and I immediately took my friend outside and called him out on what I just saw on his phone. I was also about to call my wife about it, but he stopped me and said that it was all him and that he stole it off of her phone. He said that she had nothing to do with it. At the heat of the moment, he kept apologizing, but I don't think I took in too much of the explanation. And the night obviously ended sour. Didn't say anything else to him or any of our friends, but went home and I immediately told my wife, who was appalled and shocked about it all. Now, I don't know what to do, and I feel like I'm still in a bit of a shock on what's going to happen since it's been a few days and I haven't talked to my friend who's been texting me, but I just told him that I'll talk to him when I feel ready. If I recall right, in his explanation, he said he literally saw the photos by accident while trying to fix something on her phone and he didn't resist and save them, but then forgot about it or something like that. The thing is, we've known each other for a while and I honestly don't know where to go with this friendship. Since he's also my wife's friend, her opinion is just to forget that it ever happened and move on. But in my mind, I don't know. I don't know if I should even try to hear his explanation again. I feel like I'm not thinking straight right now and I need help. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for switching from non-dairy to dairy milk and inadvertently making my flatmate shit herself in an interview? I'm not lactose intolerant. I buy hazelnut milk because I like to have hazelnut syrup in my coffee, and adding hazelnut milk makes it even more nutty. My flatmate is severely lactose intolerant though, and has been drinking my milk ever since she moved in a few months ago. I don't have an issue sharing milk with her, but the issue is that she drinks so much of it all day, every day, that I'll get a single cup of coffee out of an entire carton. Sometimes she'll drink the entire carton before I even had a single drink. And then she never replaces it or refunds me or even acknowledges that it wasn't hers to drink. At some point, she stopped buying her own milk, and I was having to buy new milk daily. I asked her many times why she was drinking my milk and said that if she does, can she buy a new carton? And she would say sorry, that she just grabbed the first milk she saw and that she'd get me a new one, but never would. She started getting annoyed when I brought it up and would say I was being overdramatic when I mentioned how much it was costing me. Last week, I got sick of it and decided to go back to drinking dairy milk, thinking that as she's severely lactose intolerant, she would stop and buy her own milk. I thought wrong. The dairy milk is clearly labeled. It has a bright red label on it. It even says cow's milk, but she still helped herself. Unfortunately, the day she decided to drink the dairy milk was the day she had a new job interview. And the effects of the dairy-laced coffee she took with her kicked in as she was in the middle of it, and she didn't make it to the bathroom in time. She came home absolutely furious and laid into me about how I ruined her life, how this job was the opportunity she needed, and I destroyed it for her, and that I did it deliberately because I was too uptight to share my milk. Here are the reasons why my flatmate thinks I am in the wrong. I knew she was lactose intolerant, and so knew if she drank my milk, she would get violently ill. She also said that sharing milk isn't a big deal and that I'm selfish. She thinks I was overreacting and being cruel just for the sake of it, and that I should have spoken to her about it instead of secretly changing milks. She has threatened to report me to the police, but I don't think she has a leg to stand on. Regardless, she's making our flat very uncomfortable to live in. She's taken my leftovers from the fridge and opened up my milk and left it to ruin, leaves all her mess everywhere for me to clean up, and has misplaced documents of mine. Am I the asshole?
Like, first reactions to that, like, somebody give her a titty to suck on because she's a child and needs milk. Like, god damn. Also, like,
It's bad.
if you take it to the police, like, this is, nobody cares. But I'd be like, take me to the police,
Let's
like,
go.
put me in cuffs, like, I don't know, this girl just sounds like a child. Gaslighting over the milk.
My wife and I are expecting a child in October. We are nearly in our 30s and have been trying for a child for some time. I won't go into details, but it's been difficult. In February, we discovered that she was pregnant. Obviously, we were over the moon with joy. We began to prepare. We did everything you could possibly do to get ready. We planned a baby shower and sent out invitations. We prepared a beautiful room with custom-made crib by my father-in-law, who is a very talented woodworker, and we were extremely thorough in baby-proofing our home. During the baby-proofing, my wife started to suggest that we get rid of my cat, Bubba, who is 12 years old, and I've had since he was a kitten. I got him in college. I adopted him, and each of my 2 sisters adopted another kitten from the same litter. Bubba is extremely affectionate to me. So sweet and cuddly. He tolerates my wife, but is not affectionate towards her. To strangers, he's not nice. He has never bitten or scratched anyone, but he does a lot of hissing and yowling at people he is unfamiliar with. My wife was afraid that he'd scare the baby. He wouldn't be welcoming to the newborn, or that he'd hurt her. I argued gently, but eventually agreed. In her 28th week of pregnancy, we sent him to live with my parents. He was not happy there. My parents said he cried all day and walked around meowing 24 hours a day, looking for me. Tragically, my wife and I lost our child just weeks before she was due. We still don't have a lot of answers, and it's painful to get into. We mourned. We were inconsolable for weeks. I still can't think about it without feeling complete agony and loss. After a month, we returned to some level of normalcy, as normal as things could be. As normal as things could be anyway. We started to explore adoption. Last week, I told my wife that I was going to go pick up Bubba and bring him back home. She exploded. She said that under no circumstances would she allow him back in our house, and that I had agreed to have him live with my parents. I missed him. He's been my best friend for years. He's been my loyal companion my entire life. She told me that I could pretty much choose between her or Bubba. I told her that I obviously would choose her, it's not even a question, but that I didn't understand her reasoning and I felt like she was being cruel. She had lived with him for 10 years, and there had never been any problem. The adoption process can take anywhere from 8 to 12 months on average, and I'd like to spend that time having Bubba around. We haven't spoken about it since. This is the first fight we've had. Am I in the wrong for wanting to bring my cat back into my house after my wife's late stillbirth?
Am I the asshole for refusing to tell my husband the gender of our baby after he skipped going to the doctor's appointment with me? This is my husband and I's first baby, and we're so excited. The thing is, he barely attends any doctor's appointments, and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor's appointments over soccer or a drink or a game with his friends. His response is always, I'm not the one carrying the baby, so why do I have to go see the doctor? Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me to the gender reveal appointment, but chose not to come because his friend invited him to fish and chips. I was pretty livid, but didn't make a fuss about it. Mom went with me instead. Woo! Am I the asshole for refusing to tell my husband the gender of our baby after he skipped going to the doctor's appointment with me? He texted asking me to tell him the results, but I refused to tell him. He kept on spam calling me, but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanding I tell him the results, but I refused. I bluntly said that since he refused to attend the appointment, then he gets no results till after the baby's born. He went off calling me spiteful and immature for doing this and punishing him. He said he's the father and has the right to know, and then called me dramatic since I wasn't alone and my mom was with me. He's been fuming about it and told his family, and now they're pressuring me to stop playing mind games and just tell him.